What are other words for masturbation that you've ever heard?
Winking.
Jerking off, baiting, pulling the page.
What?
Pulling the page.
Pulling the pad. That's right, pulling the pad.
Please welcome to the stage the drag king, Jack Mehoff. Jack Mehoff?
Jack me off.
Yeah. Roll the opening. It's curtains for you. Hello! Welcome back to
What's the safe word?
Hi, ma'am.
I'm Miss Christopher.
And today...
We're pulling the page. It's Masturbation May!
Woo! And before any of you censors come along from YouTube and say that this is inappropriate, we talked to an actual trained therapist, licensed sexologist, and all sorts of health professionals on this topic. So this is educational.
Totally educational.
But we are going to talk about masturbation.
We're not yanking your chain.
We're going to wait. Might yank some. Now, I don't know about you, but when I first found out about masturbation, getting off, jerking, whatever you called it, there was a lot of stigma around it.
I actually didn't know how to masturbate when I was just a teenager. There was no stigma around it because I didn't know how.
Oh. I was raised religious, so there was a lot of stigma around anything pleasurable because that's bad. And
yes.
We, as humans, should just always be suffering.
Never have pleasure, even though that's what our entire society is based on.
But you're always a pleasure. And that's why today we're going to be talking about masturbation myths. We're going to be covering questions that you guys had.
So we're like masturbation busters, like myth busters. Masturbation busters!
So we asked you guys for any questions around masturbation, jerking off, or just genitals in general.
General genitals.
I'm sorry.
General generals.
No,
General generals. Genitals.
Today's episode is sponsored by Lovehoney, is reminding you that masturbation is a lovely, wonderful thing that's not only good for you, but good for other people. And we're going to be talking more about them later, but let's just get into the questions before this one starts to generally explode.
Genitals.
The first question for today's masturbation myth-busting nut-busters, and this one comes from Zach, but came from a lot of people who asked, how much is too much? I'm sure everyone has their own definitions of what is considered too much, but I'm just curious. The answer is the limit does not exist.
The limit does not exist. The limit does not exist.
I think it's too much when you start to get raw and rashy because you're doing it too much.
Yeah.
Also, another pro tip, what don't you use to masturbate, especially in the shower? Soap. That is the worst. It dries you out and
Yeah.
will cause a rash.
Okay, very unrelated to the question, but I love that pro tip. Thank you for that pro tip.
You're welcome.
Yeah.
I've learned this from experience. Don't do that. It feels good in the moment, but you're gonna regret it later. Just so you know, don't use soap.
I actually talked to sexologist Gloria Bram recently on our podcast where I had a very at-length discussion. Literally, she's written the book on masturbation, destigmatizing sex, and we talked specifically about this question. And pretty much her only thing for that was, if it's getting in the way of your life in negative ways, work, friends, life balances, or just making it so you're not productive, that is when you're jerking off too much. That is when masturbation can be a problem. But generally, there are so many positives for your body when it comes to masturbation. So what's too much for you? What would you consider too much?
I would say, I would agree. Some people
In a day.
have higher sex drives than others, so
True.
you can't put a number on that because everyone's different.
True. So as long as it's not getting in the way of your life, you're fine.
Do it 40 times a day.
This next question from Jack the Pup was also mirrored by a lot of people in the discussion, who asks, is it true that you can lose feelings by using toys too much? Like, when you use vibrating toys too often, can you actually damage some nerves? And again, we went to not only our sexologist, but we even did some research online, and it turns out that while vibrations can be aggressive sometimes, you generally can't kill your nerves.
I actually find if you stimulate it too much with a vibrator that I lose sensation.
Let's test that with today's sponsor. Oh my gosh. Lovehoney. If you leave something going for too long, it can get that almost tingly, numb feeling. But most therapists and sexologists, as well as scientists,
Yes, science.
will say that after about 10 minutes, the tingling, buzzing feeling usually goes away.
Just like your arm when it falls asleep.
Now, if you happen to have tingling that doesn't go away for longer periods of time, that's when you might want to consult a doctor about an actual problem that you might have within your nervous system or your circulation.
That makes sense.
And Lovehoney, today's sponsor, wants to remind you that it is Masturbation May, and there is nothing wrong with getting a little vibe on in the bedroom.
And sex toys can elevate solo play or play with others.
And sex toys like this from Lovehoney are not only powerful, but the wand here has not only 10 different speeds, but 20 different patterns you can cycle through very easily. It's actually very nice as well to get in. Oh my god.
No, don't bogart it.
Hey, okay. And while it is great for muscles and aches and pains, it's also been proven that about 75% of vagina havers do need a little bit more good vibrations within their sex life to get off. I do actually really love a good vibrator. A wand is a perfect addition to any sex kit, and there's so many different ways you can use this. You can hang this over someone, you can massage someone,
you can use it on a butt plug.
Yeah, you can even just, I want to say thank you again to Lovehoney today, who's offering you guys 20% off of any goods on their website by using offer code WATTS20, again at lovehoney.com. Use the link down below, get some good vibes of your own, maybe a wand, maybe a sex toy. Check out the site, let us know what you buy. Next question comes from DM Yeti, who asks, why is it so vilified? Where and when did that all start? And I think to answer that question, we kind of have to talk about the history of masturbation, getting off, not only in our society, but in the world.
Didn't early man just draw pictures of masturbation on the caves?
Yeah, we saw the early cave drawings that showed depictions of masturbation both for men and women. We saw even early Greeks who said that masturbation was super healthy. And ancient Egypt, they performed actual religious sorts of god things when it came around masturbation.
So like Pharaoh's rod.
Ra's rod? But it wasn't until about 1830 when we start to see actual vilification of and pushback against the pleasures of the sexual body. And it all started with some of your favorite sugary snacks.
What?
Graham crackers.
What?
Graham crackers!
What? Ow.
When it started to get vilified was around the 19th century when Sylvester Graham, the guy who invented graham crackers, went on this religious crusade to stop people from masturbating.
Why did he care? He just wanted people to eat more?
Oh, Jesus. Gross.
Long story short, Sylvester Graham just really hated sex, and he thought that masturbating or getting off these carnal desires would lead to epilepsy, headaches, maybe even death. So to stop his followers from getting frisky, he invented a bland, biscuit-like cracker to cure these carnal desires of masturbation and quell sexual urges in 1829. He believed wholesome foods made wholesome people, and Graham even gained thousands of cracker-munching followers dubbed Grahamites.
No.
Yes!
Oh my god. You're ruining graham crackers for me.
Well, then get ready to ruin all breakfast cereals because then Kellogg's come along.
And Kellogg's doesn't want you to masturbate either?
Nope.
Jesus. It's not great.
John Harvey Kellogg of Kellogg's cereal brand considered himself a Grahamite and created granola cereal in 1878 with a very similar mindset of very bland foods leading to a very bland lifestyle. And as far as vilification, we can also thank Sigmund Freud for many of his writings which vilify sex and masturbation in general. So there's a lot of reasons why we vilify masturbation and getting off, but a lot of it comes down to people trying to force religion and puritanical views on other people. The silver lining, of course, that pendulum does swing back, and we saw a sexual revolution very much led by women trying to fight for their right to just...
Do you know about sex? Do you really know about sex?
I feel like we went very deep into that question. Next question. And this one will surely have you by the seat of your underpants. It comes from Thunder My Lullaby, who says, I like to masturbate in my underwear.
Who doesn't?
And then just go to sleep in them. With them still on, I have not had ill effects from this, but could there be any?
Well, I mean, there is the possibility that it's gonna get dried and stick to yourself.
And you don't want any like sticky, cottony bits around your genitals,
I
which
mean,
can be kind of...
if you shower in the morning, I think you're fine.
Yeah, I would wonder if like it ruins your underwear, but otherwise I don't see any problems with it.
And if that's the worst thing your underwear sees, it's not too bad. And lots of underwear fetishes love like silky and mesh and cotton and all different types of fabric that get them off.
That's kind of fun.
Yeah. Texture.
Texture, I barely know her. The next question is definitely going to keep you locked down. It comes from Rafter, who says, for people who are into chastity like me, are there techniques to reach anal orgasm through anal stimulation? And then in parentheses, I guess this counts as masturbation? I did it sometimes, but it's hard to grasp. And I would say, yes, it is very hard to grasp. There's a chastity device covering it. I mean, you can't grab it.
No, but you can masturbate that way because you hit your prostate over and over with the toy.
Would you consider it masturbation?
Yes.
Not sex?
Not if you're doing it with the toy. Because it's solo.
You can do it with other people as well, but to answer your question, yes, it is absolutely possible. I've done it many a time, and I've also done it with no physical stimulation, just mental stimulation. It's a matter of working that into your body, being able to spiritually, physically, mentally get yourself to that place that turns you on enough to get you off.
So you're just doing mental masturbation now.
This is educational and not sexually explicit.
Educational, YouTube. Educational.
Essentially, you're trying to attack that P spot, the prostate, if you have one of those, or the G spot, if you're someone that has a vagina. And the G spot actually shares that anal cavity wall with the vagina, so it is possible to get off through the anal stimulation regardless of what you got going on down there. The next question by DM Yeti kind of goes along the fear-mongering route that we talked about before, but asks, there's a lot of fear-mongering around the quote-unquote consequences of masturbation. Obviously, it's not going to make you go blind, but are there any real possible problems that they can cause?
Yes, you can grow hair on the palm of your hands.
People also were told that you would get HIV. People
From masturbating?
Yes, there are so many flagrant just fallacies that people are taught in health school. I was told I was gonna die. I was told I wouldn't be able to have a healthy lifestyle if I masturbated regularly.
I was told it was a sin.
That too. I mean, you don't want to spill those babies all over the place.
I did. I spilled babies everywhere, every day.
Fact of the matter is, though, there's not really a bad thing that happens in masturbation. Obviously, if you have health concerns that make it difficult to get off, maybe you have heart issues or circulation, that's a bad thing, but it's not caused by the masturbation. In fact, we have so many anecdotes that say the opposite as far as things that do help when you do masturbate regularly.
That's probably caused by the poppers if you're gooning.
Okay, no. Whole other thing, if you guys have questions about gooning, leave those in the comments. We're not talking about that today. But the benefits of masturbation include...
bright eyes, bushy tails.
Well, you're not gonna get a tail though. Imagine if you will get a tail if you masturbate.
That's a tall tail.
If more people masturbated more regularly, they might be a lot happier.
I know, we would all be nice to each other.
And the people who are trying to stop the sex ed, the masturbation, and the sex positive like languages and talks are the people who are making rules and are generally very conservative and Republican and religious. So I think they could all use a little bit of self-love.
Take that, Sigmund Freud. Frog.
Sigmund Frog.
Take that, Sigmund Freud.
I even heard one that was saying that sex toys were possessed, and I kind of thought that one was hilarious.
She's tampering in dark-sided stuff.
Possessed.
Yeah, your sex toys just will make you possessed.
Oh.
Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you, Lovehoney, for possessing us to do this video. Again, we talked to sex therapists and sexologists. Masturbation's good for you. Okay, I've got beef with this next question from Smart Orc Boy, who says, many years ago, I saw a men's health fitness magazine that seemed like it was just softcore beefcake mag porn. Recommended trying to masturbate with a room temperature steak and lube. Almost as good as the real thing, or a waste of food. What? I literally looked for this I spent actual time trying to find this men's health magazine you're speaking of with so many different keywords. My Google employee who looks through my Google search history is gonna be like,
It's a high stake game.
you know, if this article actually existed though, you know what it would be? A mistake.
Jesus.
Not a thing. Don't lube up your steak. Food play is fun, but like real answer, if you're getting like juices and enzymes and like the bacteria that can exist in food, it's not good for your genitals. Don't do that, please.
Okay.
Not kink shaming. But I got beef. Next question. The next question from Russian Puppy asks, are there any non-standard types of masturbation types, in quotes? I mean, when there's no stroking with hand or toy? And to that question, I actually asked my friend sex therapist Gloria, like, are there standardized types of masturbation or like positions, I guess, is what they were asking in this question? And she was just like, no, just jerk off.
So, but I am curious. I think everyone has a certain position they're most comfortable to masturbate in, like
Sure.
lying on your back or on your knees or sitting.
For sex, if I'm on my knees, it's so difficult for me to get off as well.
Sorry, I like knees.
And every body is different in that way. So is there a standardized or non-standard type? No, it's just however you feel more comfortable getting off and however or whatever toys you're using or even kinks that you might be involving. But there is a way in which you can build those grooves that can be a negative thing too, where it makes it so impossible for you to get off any other way but that one specific form.
Yeah, and I've shot so much porn over the years, sometimes we'd have to change just the position of everyone for cum shots to make it better for them to be able to get off.
And this is where like that no-fap culture that comes into the conversation always gets brought up because people are like, well, if you're jerking off too much, you're gonna ruin yourself for a real relationship. I think that like anything, even jerking off, even sex is something that you have to do in moderation so that you're not getting in the way of the rest of your life, you know?
What's fap?
Well, it's a nice venti frappuccino from Starbucks, you know? It's another word for like jerking off.
They don't have the Karma Sutra for just jacking off.
Karma Sutra?
What is it?
You're gonna get some bad karma. Next question. The next question from Patroclus says, what classifies a ruined orgasm?
That's actually, those are kind of fun. So then you took like the most pleasurable part away as they, and you can just laugh at them. It's great.
Yes, what classified? Did you enjoy it? And did you get off? If you said yes, then no, that's a ruined orgasm.
It's frustration, not pleasure.
If I were to give an analogy, I would say it's like watching Game of Thrones, and then when you get to the season finale, when you're like, oh my god, oh. Dun, 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 dun. Next question. Pup Mitt asks, what's the best lube for masturbation? And
Spit.
No, spit is not lube. Well, I actually asked the specialist that was on our podcast, Gloria, and she didn't really have a full-on answer. As long as it's slick and it gets you off and it lessens any abrasion or chafing, that's all that really matters. But you do have to be conscious of, and the only caveat here is, how you're using the lube and for what purposes. Are you doing it with toys? Are you doing it just solo play? Are you doing it inside the body, just outside the body? There's lots of different lubes for different things. So like water-based, for instance, gets a little sticky long-term, but great for toys. Silicone, great for some silicone toys.
That's the one I like.
Great for your body, helps to really keep it slick, and it stays slick. And then there's oils, which I always try to stay away from because it breaks down condoms, breaks down toys, and also is just, can sometimes get
messy.
Bacteria. Yeah. So we would say like a hybrid or a water-based or a silicone is the best. But use what works for you. I love when you answer a question by asking, what are you using the lube for? Leave it in the comments, because we can't hear you.
No, this is where you have to experiment. You have to try different things till you find what works for you.
That's what exploring your body's all about, though. That's what makes it fun. That's why you should be doing it more. Just, yeah, make sure it doesn't hurt. Pain is not part of masturbation usually.
No.
Could be.
Stop if it's painful. Unless pain gets your mouth.
Speaking of pain, though, this next question might be on the right track, and it says, I'm not entirely sure if this is considered masturbation, but how common is it to get off fully from just nipple play? Daddy?
Very common.
You are speaking to someone who knows this very well. How did you get there?
Over time. I think it was just marrying good experiences with pleasure when my nipples were played with, and the more I did that, the more I wanted that.
You're married?
To pleasure.
Oh, okay. And nipples have hundreds of nerve endings in there, so it's very clear why you could, with enough training, get off just via that play.
And they call that being wired. So sometimes your nipples are wired to your hardware.
I have hardware that's wired to my sex toy. It is wired, so it's never gonna run out of power. And as far as studies go, in 2016, a survey that studied women said about 12% of those in that study could get off with just stimulating the nipples.
Oh, really?
Yeah. And in 2019, they did a study where they actually focused on the brain and what happens when you play with your nipples. Turns out that also activates the genital sensory cortex, the same thing that happens when you start masturbating. So there's definitely a connection there, and with enough training and the right kind of touching, how would you say you get to that spot? Do you start with really bitey gripping, twisting?
Most people start light until you work in, just like ramping up for impact play, and then as I get into it, a little harder twists.
Maybe you should get some nipple toys from Lovehoney if you're looking to try something new.
So you're saying that my brain is bigger?
I'm saying your brain's very abreast of knowledge. This one's a little bit more serious from Demon Kitten, who asks, how do you get out of a masturbation habit? I've been thigh squeezing my thighs and using pressure on my femme parts for years, and have only this past year used toys. I've worried I've ruined myself for partners and other forms of pleasure, and I hate hearing that. Because I'm sure a bit of society has told you that you're gonna ruin yourself, which is very common in masturbation myths. But it also seems that you were kind of feeling like you couldn't get there without a bit more toys and just a bit more like.
And why couldn't you do that with a partner?
Well, maybe there was a bit of shame there. According to some sex therapists, when I looked into this, if we're masturbating in the same way every time, using the same exact toys, using the same exact porn, and relying on the same practices, you are gonna build this neural groove into your sexual proclivities. And you could even form fetishes sometimes. We've seen that in studies where they actually put like little backpacks on rats and then had them do sex, and the rats that wore backpacks could only get off with a backpack.
Is that really a thing?
Yeah, it was a study, it was a thing. So ruined? Absolutely not. That's where you might step in and try a different sort of play. Get your partner involved. If you only use this one toy at the maximum power, maybe ease off and ease back into other kinds of play and treat yourself, but also teach yourself new ways of pleasure.
So you just have to get back into the groove.
Yeah, well, or make another groove for yourself.
Grooves are good. Groovy.
Who says groovy?
I do. Groovy, dude. And get yourself a backpack.
Or that. Lovehoney, do you carry backpacks? Sex backpacks.
Sex pack.
I'm bringing sexy backpack. I'm bringing sexy back. but don't think that you've ruined yourself just because your body works differently than other people. The next question from Tracy goes into a really good question that I'm glad that they asked, and it has to do with disability. And they ask, I'd love to learn more about masturbation aids for people who are either disabled or lack flexibility. I remember seeing a sort of hook-like aid that was used to facilitate masturbation with a dildo, but I cannot find it anywhere. I've seen hook-like aids that go into vacuum-lock dildos. I've even seen aids, actually by our friend Andrew Gurza of Disability After Dark. Please go check out their podcast and website. There's lots of not only aids there, recommendations, but I think rather than us talk about disability, I would much rather shout out actual educators who do work in the disability area though. Robin Wilson Beatty, who is a disability awareness and sexuality educator. There's Eva Sweeney, an activist and writer who writes more about sex and disability than I think anyone I know, as well as, again, Andrew Gurza. So go check out those educators, look at their websites and resources, and I bet you they'll give you great methods in which you can work good sex into your life. And of course, the masturbation talk's always got a little bit of skin in the game, so this next question from Paul is especially topical, and they ask, for us uncut individuals, is it best to peel the foreskin all the way back when masturbating? For me, pulling the foreskin back and forth over the head of the member really helps, but I often wonder how cut people do it.
Some people get very sensitized there, so they don't like it. So I think that goes back and forth.
Much like everything in this conversation, everyone's body's a little bit different, but this consensus of those with a bit more skin down there, if you got a penis that's got a hood, is that pulling that all the way down, the head is especially sensitive.
Really sensitive.
But the skin actually has tons of nerves in that as well. So it's best to, we're told through anecdotal evidence, use the skin as a kind of a sheath as you go up and down to provide pleasure, but don't focus too much on the head if they are uncut. But for cut individuals, it's actually fine. Like
yeah,
some
no,
people
I have
really...
no problem because I think I'm desensitized there.
Yeah, though cut individuals also have to use a lot more lube, where the uncut individuals, they tend to catch fluids and liquids in there that actually helps with masturbation a lot more. And as far as researchers looking into cut versus uncut and the safety and all that, don't mutilate your kids. And also, they found no reason to cut and get rid of the skin around there. There's no scientific evidence that's actually shown to help anyone. I feel like we should just not harm children. Just don't do that.
Just cut it out.
No. Actually, studies have shown that more and more Americans are not circumcising their children. So we're gonna see a lot more skin in the game. And last but not least, a question from Xander who asks, how much force and what kinds of vigorous manipulation does it take to break a penis? Okay, time to stop the episode. Okay, we're done. What a great way to end the episode. We'll see you. For real though, a penile fracture is possible, but God, please, I don't want to research that more.
Nutbusters.
But a few pounds bending the penis while erect about 90 degrees will cause a fracture, and it does pop. Don't ask me why I know that. It's just...
I've seen it happen. It's not good.
If you think that there's a penile fracture, stop. Go to a doctor, and that's all we're gonna talk about that question. Okay.
I don't think we need to say anything more on that.
Yeah. Oh my God, thank you for all the questions today. You guys made me learn so much. Some things I'll never unlearn. And hey, if you have a penile fracture, that's a great place to use a safe word, and today's safe word is ow! That would stop a scene. If you enjoyed these questions though, or maybe you have some more questions about masturbation itself, please go check out the podcast that I did with Gloria, but also leave those in the comments down below. Make sure you're subscribed. We're almost at 300,000.
Oh my God, really?
I think by the time this video goes out, we might just barely hit it.
If you hit that subscribe, we might hit 300,000.
Tell your friends about us.
Yes, please.
Maybe get some of your more religious conservative friends on the masturbation train, you know? Throw out their graham crackers, throw out their cereals, and just get them a Lovehoney device. And also, thank you again, Lovehoney, for sponsoring today's episode. And we will see you all next time.
Bye.
No, don't touch the microphone.
Sounds like a power tool.
It's powerful. It's fine.